rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective with your host, me. So there's before we even get started on this, I open up the stream a little early for those who are the rumblers because of the way the Rumble works. It gets to be opened up early. Unlike the rest of the broadcast locations, they don't give you the opportunity to open it up first. And so one of my rumblers, I won't say any names, has got a bit of a tool issue going on. And so another one of my longtime Whiskey Warrior rumblers as well pointed out a trick that you can use to extend the length of the wrench and get more power and torque with less effort. I use that all the time. So sorry there, mister. I use it all the time. The reason why is because I'm inherently lazy. I don't like to work hard. My dad used to always tell me, work smart, not hard. And so whenever I can't do it just by hand, I just grab a longer piece of pipe. I've used like jack handles. I've used conduit. I've used all kinds of other stuff. And yeah, it's, you extend the length of the handle and it makes it to where now you have more torque, more leverage, and it's a little bit easier to twist things off. So there you go. Anyway. All right. I don't know what the heck just happened. There was something that fell down in the back of the studio, I guess, somewhere. Anyway. All right. So enough about that. Let's move on. So, tonight I've got the answer, I believe, to the question that I've been asking, that a lot of people have been asking. And, so there you go. Anyway, oh, they're still hitting me over on Rumble. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's go ahead. And I believe it's the, NJY Girls Camp that put this together for us, saying the Pledge of Allegiance to a beat. Let's go ahead and listen to them as they lead us in it. If you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats, put your hand over your hearts, and let's recite and follow along. Let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah!
All right, and I thank them, of course, for their submission. If you would like to get your Pledge of Allegiance played here on the station or on the channel, you can go ahead and record yourself doing the Pledge of Allegiance and then sending me that audio file, and I will go ahead and get it into the rotation. You can send that to me, my email address, fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And you can go ahead and do that whenever you want. I accept them all the time, so you can just send them on to me. So let's see. Tonight's broadcast is going to be sponsored by theflagshirt.com. I have one of their shirts on right now. Check this thing out. This thing is just absolutely fantastic. Oh, you can barely see the Constitution right here. You can barely see it, but anyway, they have a fantastic sale going on right now where they have August deals on some select styles up to 50% off. But I'm going to tell you right now, they have some of the shirts that I wear, both the cotton shirts and this one in particular, this one here is also on sale right now. You can go and check it out at theflagshirt.com and check out all of their styles. They've got men's and women's and hats and socks and sunglasses and all kinds of stuff. You can head on to theflagshirt.com and check out all of their styles. They've got a bunch of stuff on sale for all of August. 3 or 4 of the shirts that I wear right now, I'm just counting, I would say probably at least 5 of the shirts that I wear are on sale. And also too, what I'm going to do is I'm putting in an additional $5 off. So go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online and you can get a hold of a coupon code that you can put in at checkout to get an additional $5 off your order. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get yourself that $5 off coupon code to be entered in at checkout at theflagshirt.com to get yourself $5 off, an additional $5 off of your order. Also, too, if you spend $75, they will give you free shipping. And their shipping is really pretty good. I'm going to tell you, they turn orders around. So far, every order that I've done with them has been at about a week, and they actually are in Florida themselves. So to get that all the way across the country in a week is pretty quick. So go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Background provided by one of my whiskey warrior P1s who's been around since the beginning, just about. Good old Buddy Weiser. Speaking of which, I've got to tell you, I've got the greatest fans. I just do. I've got some fantastic fans, I'm telling you. And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, you guys are smart. You keep me on my toes. You keep me honest. You keep me, if I say something that's a little out of line, y'all call me on it. And you fact check me and things like that. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that, the relationship between a broadcaster like myself and his or her fans is a very important one, because without the fans, I literally wouldn't be able to do this. I'd be speaking into the empty ethosphere for this. And that is not something that I want to do, of course. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic that you guys are here. And sometimes I get sent things. I get sent stuff. And I love to see. I'm not talking about gifts. I'm talking about like pictures. I'm talking about like special things. Sometimes I get gifts. I mean, I've gotten a couple bottles of whiskey, which is fantastic, and I appreciate that all the time, for sure. But I get to see things like this. So here is Mark over on Facebook. And he is at some sort of a memorial, and I'm sorry I didn't look to see exactly where this was for it, but he's at some sort of a veterans memorial, and take a look at what he's wearing. Here, let me zoom in on it. Let me zoom in on it right here. Take a look. Oh my gosh, he is a long-time whiskey warrior right there. Representing in the Whiskey Musings logo gear. It's Busch Gardens, okay. In the Whiskey Musings logo gear right there. Check that out. That is fantastic. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. He actually sent that to me about last week, and I've been kind of trying to figure out where in the heck to fit it in. So there's that. And then also, too, you guys know about Outlaw Dogs and her obsession with swimming and swim teams and things like that. So she sent me, she sent me a photo. Whoops, wrong way. She sent me a photo of the Sea Rays and their trophy. So the summer swim team that she coached came in third, I believe. I haven't seen Outlaw Dogs in the chat yet, so I'm hoping that's right. But I think they came in third, and so she went ahead and sent this in. And I've gotten gifts and other stuff from Outlaw Dogs and in the Delaware Valley water moccasins, of course. And whenever their season comes around, we like to hear about, their record and that kind of stuff. They've submitted things also too. They've submitted things as well. Things like, the national anthem and some other things as well that have shown up. So I love my fans. The other day though, I got this email, and this email had an attachment, and I haven't seen her in the chat yet, but you remember the other day where I was sitting there talking to somebody in the chat got us off on Oscar Mayer baloney and or Bologna, however you want to pronounce it. And I went ahead and sang like the first part of the old jingle for Oscar Mayer. Well, that apparently inspired Little Miss Coco Dominki. And so she created this.
My honest news has a first name. It's Whiskey. My honest news has a second name. It's Musings. I like to listen every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Whiskey Musings has a way with HONEST news.
Oh, so I apparently I have honest news now. I'm honest news reporting. Oh, that's fantastic. I love all that, guys. You don't even know. I can't even describe it to you as to how that works, but I appreciate every single one of you. All of you for showing up and hanging out and doing all these things. And again, keeping me honest, of course. But anyway, so that was the Whiskey Musings Honest News theme song. There we go. Oh, I love you guys. Anyway, all right, let's get into the show. So, of course, real quick, let's just start with the hot topic of the day, which is essentially that the stock market took a big hit. And it took a hit, started last Thursday, I believe, Friday. The downward trend started coming out. And the reason being mostly is because of the fact that there was a jobless rate report that popped up that came up. It started increasing. And there, I've talked about this before on the program, what's called the SAM rule, SAHM rule. And the SAM rule is a rule or a indicator, well, just say, of a potential recession. And it was named after former Reserve economist Claudia Sam. And this Claudia Sam has successfully predicted every single recession since 1970. Think about that for a second. The SAM rule has predicted every single recession since 1970. And here, with the jobless rate unexpectedly rising, the now SAM rule is now in play. Well, that's what a lot of the people who are in the know with that kind of stuff, with finances and things, they are thinking that that might have been the trigger for all of a sudden this global sell-off. Now, it's not just U.S. markets that are being hit. In fact, Japan and the Japan market had a really bad day as well. They lost something like 12% over the course of their trading day over the weekend and stuff. And that's one of the largest hits, that they have ever taken. So now all of a sudden, it comes around, and this morning, last Friday, I think we lost, I don't know, maybe 600, 700 points in the Dow, which everybody seems to focus on the Dow and that kind of thing. So we'll just go with that. But in addition, we opened this morning low, and all of a sudden we lost like 1,000 points. Now, I watched it a little bit during the day, and we bounced between losing like 800 points to 1,000 points, almost to 1,200 points at one point, and then it came back up. So it finally closed low by just over 1,000 points. Well, the thing about it is that it wasn't just the Dow Jones Industrial Average; it was also the S&P 500 as well as the NASDAQ. Take a look at this. This is the closings. These are the closings at the end of the day. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average, like I said, was just a little over 1,000 points, had a negative 2.60% change. The S&P 500 dropped a little over 1.5 points, lost 3%. And the NASDAQ Composite Index lost over 500 points. They came in at losing 576. Now, I don't know how true this is, but somebody mentioned that the NASDAQ has never, I say this again, has never lost over 500 points in one day. So all of the indexes are dropping. And this kind of gives an idea that we are in essentially the early stages of a recession. And this is indications when the 3-month moving average of the jobless rate is at least a 0.5 percentage point higher than the 12-month low. And that's the SOM rule, or SAME rule, SOM rule. Anyway, over the past 3 months, the unemployment rate has averaged around 4.13, which is 0.63 percentage points higher than the 3.5 rate recorded in July of 2023, crossing that threshold. So we're looking, believe me, if you have a 401k, don't start looking. Don't start looking. I'm just telling you right now, don't look. But the thing about it is, I mean, keep in mind, now, Donald Trump did say that Joe Biden was going to tank the stock market. And of course, he immediately came out on Truth Social today and said something very close to it. Although he was also mentioning that Kamala Harris was actually tanking the stock market, and the left immediately jumped on and were like, oh, no, this isn't the case. This is just a market correction. They're trying to blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. We have 4 more days in this week before they shut down for the weekend. We're going to have to see what happens here, people, because we've had essentially a drop. If my numbers are correct, and I'm quickly doing the math here, and we lost 700 on Friday and 1,000 today, we're looking at a 1,700 drop right now, 1,700 point drop. And it wasn't that long ago, just a couple months ago, where they were touting, where the left was touting how wonderful the stock market was, and 40,000, it crossed 40,000, and so on and so forth. Well, here's the thing. The challenge is going to be what the Fed decides to do. Okay. And the reason being is because right now the Fed has been talking, or had in the past been talking, about lowering rates in September. And by lowering rates, I mean lowering the interest rates. Even so much as like a 1.5% decrease is what they were talking about. Well, unfortunately, I'm not sure that is necessarily going to happen. Even though they are anticipating a drop in the Fed rate and easing of the Fed policies, is what they're trying to kind of figure this thing out. Now, of course, just like betting at a freaking gambling table or whatever, all of this has a lot of different variables it's a little hard to necessarily predict. However, the stock market seems to be looking at a potential negative issue, and one of it being the fact that we would be in a recession. Now, I've made comments on this program that we're in more like a stagflation cycle, not necessarily a recessionary cycle, but we could be looking at a recession. Now, if the Fed decides to drop rates in September, I am almost fairly certain they're going to do so in order to try and artificially induce the market such that Joe Biden, well, in this case, Kamala Harris, doesn't get nailed with a poor economy when November comes around, because it's almost assuredly going to happen that if they cut back on the rates in order to artificially stimulate the economy and change things such that the stock market starts to go up and so on and so forth, without understanding that when they cut rates, that our inflation is going to skyrocket again and get into the original Joe Biden territory of the 9%, we could be looking at some serious problems for whoever wins. Most likely Trump. So, yeah. There's also some indication, as Buddy points out, there's also some indication that some of this also could be due, not just from the bad jobs report, but also could be due to the fact that the polls, a lot of the polls, just kind of put Kamala Harris as being the leader in some states, and brought it to where the polling is now showing that it's more of an even tie across the board. So we'll just have to see what's going to happen with that. Again, these are all indicators. We don't know for sure why the market is doing this or why people decided to sell off their stocks, which is exactly how that works. But it could be. Regardless, just keep in mind, folks, we've got just over 90 days until the election, and a lot of things can happen between now and then. A lot of things can happen, so be ready for that. All right. So once again, Harris obviously has not taken a press conference individually, nor has she, taken any interviews since being announced as the essential winner of the virtual DNCs, or I should say just the DNC, but they shoot her in under the virtual thing. So she hasn't had any kind of a interview or anything, and hasn't been asked any tough questions. Well, there might be a bit of a reason for that. So this article came out in the Washington Examiner. Unburdened by what has been, Harris hasn't renounced a single radical position. Yeah, she isn't out loud, in person, or on the record. Kamala Harris has staked out an extreme and destructive policy proposals for the past decade, which is exactly why people are a little scared. Now, what's interesting about this, too, is the fact that the mainstream media has been trying to remake her. Like I told you on Saturday, a key Democrat strategist was saying, oh, no, she won't take any interviews. She won't do any press junkets. The reason being is because of the fact that she wants to remake herself through television ads to try and show who she is. Well, it's sort of interesting, and I also showed you last week the old Kamala Harris website when she actually ran for president and gained exactly zero primary votes. In fact, dropped out of the race before the first primary in Iowa even happened. Well, this is the new Kamala Harris for president website. What's missing from here? For you audio listeners, I'll go ahead and tell you. All they have here are links to donate, to buy things from the store. There is not a single policy stance anywhere on this website. Anywhere at all. This is ridiculous. How many times do you see a website for a candidate and there's no policy positions listed? They are doing this on purpose, folks. They are doing this on purpose. They do not want her in front of a microphone where she's going to go and start spouting off her far, far, far left agenda and embarrass the crap out of herself by talking about, we're talking about the passage of time. You know what's significant about the passage of time? Because of the fact that we have the passage of time and we're unburdened by what has been and all this other bullshit that she spews out of her pie hole that has no use in everyday life. That's what they're afraid of. She's going to get in front of a microphone or a camera or something like that and just become the real Kamala, which is not what they want. Not what they want. So, that being said, I implore all of you, all of my Whiskey Warrior P1s and anybody else who uses the social medias, please grab memes of her positions, her stances, the screenshots of her being categorized as the farthest left senator in Congress in 2019. Do all of that, please. Please. Get the word out there. This woman is a disaster for America. She is a disaster. And ironically, not ironically, I guess I'm using that term incorrectly. But unfortunately, I'm still seeing people who are basically saying, well, she's a woman, so I'm going to vote for her. If you vote for somebody just because of their gender, you are a moron. And as I keep telling you, only morons vote Democrat. Okay, that is my hashtag. I'll be the first to claim it. And yes, only morons vote Democrat. Period. All right, let's get on to what everybody is here for. Seriously, what is everybody here for? Well, everybody is here for this fantastic question. Is Kamala Harris actually black? Nobody seems to know. Of course, all the black people are like, oh yeah, she's black. Woohoo. No, actually, not all of the black people are saying that, believe it or not. In fact, it's been questioned a couple of times. And here's the reason why. Because whenever Kamala Harris is out in public, she generally emphasizes her Indian heritage. And I'm not talking about Native American. I'm talking about her Indian heritage. So this next clip that I'm about to show you, this was clipped from Stephen Gardner's show on Rumble. It was passed on to me by Whiskey Warrior Buddy Weiser. Well, let's go ahead and let's just take a listen here. Let me get rid of this. All right, let's go ahead and let's just take a listen.
So what we're going to cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so were you raised eating South Indian food?
South Indian food.
Okay, so that was, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program, that was one of those, I don't know, she was a judge at one point on several food shows. I think that was part of the Food Network or whatever. But anyway, she, the host was with Kamala Harris, and they were about ready to do South Indian food. And this is something that this particular chef, judge, whatever, she is known for that. She is known for her South Indian food and for the Indian food. I saw her on several times on Chopped when I was watching that program and that kind of stuff. And she is clearly of Indian descent. But she is like darker skin. And she's darker than Kamala. Well, as you notice, Kamala didn't bother to correct her. Didn't bother to say anything in terms of whether or not she was actually also black. She just basically said, yeah, I'm Indian. Now, she's done this multiple times throughout her career. She has utilized her Indian heritage as much as possible in her political career. But she has never really came out and said that she was black up until recently. And this is what Donald Trump pulled out at the National Association of Black Journalists. This is what he pulled out and was saying. Now, this next clip is coming from the Larry Elder Show. It also has a couple of things from a show where Judge Joe Brown was on. And so I'm just going to let this clip kind of play. It's roughly about 2 minutes, I think. I'm sorry. It's about 1.5 minutes. And I'm just going to let this clip play. But keep in mind, this is Larry Elder's show. Okay, that he's talking about this particular situation. Let's take a listen.
Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman.
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman.
I respect either one. I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't.
Well, guess what? Even some black people question whether Kamala Harris is black. Are they racist too?
Yeah, well, it's like this. Oh, we got to go support the sister. We can get a black woman in the White. No, you're not getting one. Her daddy says his entire background is either Caucasian Irish or Caucasian Hindu. His Irish ancestors owned a bunch of slaves, and none of his ancestors were slaves. He has a grandmother who is a dark-skinned Hindu who was a house servant. So where does Kamala get her black ancestry since her mother is classified as a Caucasian Tamil Hindu Brahmin caste person?
Okay, so that last piece. So first you heard, for those on the audio portion of the program, first you heard the question to Trump at the National Association of Black Journalists forum, where he was pretty much attacked in many ways that he shouldn't have been. But anyway, he answered the question and pretty much was questioning whether or not she actually is black. Well, as Larry Elder came in, there's a lot of black folks who were asking, is she really black? Okay. And so because they're asking that question and they're kind of like, all right, well, is she actually really black or not? And you ended up with Judge Joe Brown. For those of you who don't know, he is a television judge. He was an actual judge. I'm not sure where, but he was an actual judge, and he started this television show, Judge Joe Brown. I mean, we've seen them all. We've seen like Judge Judy and, all of those other Judge Judy. I think People's Court started the whole thing. But anyway, they had Judge Joe Brown, and he was saying, no, she's not black. And he was saying clearly that, no, she's Hindu. Mom was Hindu. Dad was Hindu Jamaican. Where is the black coming in? So because of this, and honestly too, some other people have been asking that same question. Some other black folks have been asking that same question. So here in the Daily Caller, they were talking to some black Americans at a Pennsylvania barbershop, and a reporter was, and the black American said, nope, she's not. Here's the title in the Daily Caller. To me, no. Black guys at a Pennsylvania barbershop tell reporter Kamala Harris is not black. So it was a group of black men at a Pennsylvania barbershop that said they do not consider Vice President Kamala Harris to be black in a clip that was aired on CNN on Saturday. And this all stems out of that interview, or that question at the National Association of Black Journalists forum in the event in Chicago. So, well, here's the thing. Let's take a listen to the CNN clip.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr.
Sorry. Here. I should know better than to do that. Never mind. So we go, here's the question. The interviewer's name is Smith. So here's the question. Is Kamala going to make you a little more likely or less likely to vote Democrat? One of the men responded, said, Greg, hold on, Greg. Is Kamala black? Yes or no? One of the men responded. The other man responded he would let her speak on that, but to me, no. The man who asked whether Harris is a black person then put the question to the other men sitting in the barbershop. I share the same view, another responded. I heard she wasn't, said the next man to answer the question. I heard she is half black, half Asian. Now, Harris's mother is completely 100% Indian. Okay? But the problem is that it's not the mom that's in question here. It's Harris's father, Donald Harris. Where is the question? So I decided to try and find out. I decided to try and dig. And I came across a couple of articles, this one in People magazine, that describes Kamala's parents. Donald and Shamala were born across the globe from each other, but met by chance when they were both studying at UC Berkeley. Okay, now this is a key point. They both met at UC Berkeley. I'll explain in a minute. Shamala was raised in India, and at the time, there was little opportunity for women who wanted to study science. She applied to UC Berkeley to pursue a degree in biochemistry and her dreams of curing cancer. Despite never having left India, her father agreed to pay for her first year of tuition using some of his retirement savings. And this comes from the Los Angeles Times. Donald grew up in Jamaica. So this is the father. Donald grew up in Jamaica before the country gained independence from the UK and had attended British-run schools all of his life. By the time he decided to pursue a doctorate in economics, he was looking for something different and was drawn to the U.S., which appeared to be a, quote, lively and evolving dynamic of a racially and ethnically complex society, he recalled to the New York Times. Now, when they arrived on campus, close to being the same time, all right, they joined a black students' study group, later known as the Afro-American Association. Now, Shamala, of course, was not black. She grew up as a British colonial subject in India, and as a person of color, the members told the New York Times that she was accepted as part of her group. So here, they are basically saying that Shamala is not black. So there we go. She is not black. She is Indian. She is Hindu. Whatever it is that you call the people from that country, however it works out. But she is not black. So you can discount mom. Mom is completely, gone. Mom's out of the picture now. Although Kamala Harris, by the way, did get raised by her mom, because shortly after Kamala and her sister were born, mom and dad split. But they met at UC Berkeley. All right. So now let's move on to this next article. So this coming from Town and Country. Kamala Harris's father, Donald J. Harris, is an award-winning Stanford professor. He is an economist who immigrated to the U.S. from Jamaica for his PhD. Now here, they are talking about the fact that Kamala Harris, in January of 2021, she made history as the first Black, first woman, and first Indian American to hold this office. Okay, so she talked during the national DNC in August of 2020. Harris reflected on her upbringing, making only a brief mention of her father, talking about how mom and dad met at University of California, Berkeley, and how Donald Harris came from Jamaica to study economics. But here's the problem. There still is no mention of a Black heritage. They do call out Kamala Harris's father being Jamaican, and most of the time people think, oh, Jamaican, you know, if you're Jamaican, you're Black. You're not African American, okay? Let's just put it straight, okay? You're not African American. All right? You have to come from Africa to be African American. But that doesn't mean that you can't be Black, because there are Black Englishmen, there are Black, Irishmen and things like that. There are other ones, all right? But here's the thing. We'll keep going. So here's another article on Marie Claire's website talking about who is Donald Harris, Kamala Harris's father and renowned Stanford professor. There's supposed to be, it claims that the two, Kamala Harris and her father, are on good terms. But keep in mind, Kamala Harris went to live with her mom back in California after a period of time of being up in Canada. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So basically, here's the thing. And even in the book that she wrote in her 2019 memoir, The Truths We Hold, Harris spoke candidly about how vulnerable it is for her to share her history with the American people. But she also has shared stories of the times that she's visited and been in Jamaica. Okay? Again, we're talking about a daughter of two immigrants, one clearly from India, the other not 100% sure where. I mean, we know he's from Jamaica. Well, he actually tells us himself, which is what Joe Brown alluded to in that video. And here is the essay that Donald J. Harris wrote, called Reflections of a Jamaican Father. It's in Jamaica Global Online. Link is in the description of the video, and you can go check this out. But here, the second paragraph in, and I will go ahead and read it to you. My roots go back within my lifetime to my paternal grandmother, Miss Crishy, called Christiana Brown. That's key. Okay, that's her maiden name. Descendant of Hamilton Brown, who is on record as plantation and slave owner and founder of Brownstown. Now, Brownstown is where they lived in the beginning, okay? Now, he continues, and to my maternal grandmother, Miss Iris, whose maiden name was Iris Finnegan, Finegan. She was a farmer and educator from Aenon Town, Aenon Town, and Inverness. But then he says right after that, listen to this. He says right after that, Ancestry unknown to me. So at the time that he wrote this, he had no idea what his maternal grandmother, what her ancestry was. Now, he does say, and clear this up, the Harris name comes from my paternal grandfather, Joseph Alexander Harris, landowner and agricultural producer, exporter, mostly pimento or allspice, who died in 1939, 1 year after I was born, and is buried in the churchyard of the magnificent Anglican Church, which Hamilton Brown built in Brownstown, and where I, as a child, I learned the catechism, was baptized, confirmed, and served as an acolyte. All right, so here's the thing. Even he doesn't know. Her own father has no idea from his maternal side where he comes from. But given the fact that her maiden name was Finnegan, Finegan, which is leaning toward Irish, and Christiana Brown, who is a descendant of Hamilton Brown, which by the way, I took a look up of Hamilton Brown, and Hamilton Brown is, yes, a major attorney and resident slave owner in Jamaica, the founder of Brownstown in St. Anne, Jamaica, where a memorial has been recorded. So, what? Now, check this. Hamilton Brown was instrumental in the importing of several hundred laborers and their families from Ireland to Jamaica between 1835 and 1840. And he was a slave owner, admitted slave owner by Donald J. Harris. Slaves, the Irish, were slaves. Yes, folks, the Irish, white people, were sold into slavery. As of right now, there's nothing that I have been able to find at this moment. There's nothing that I have been able to find that confirms that Kamala Harris is black. She is a person of color. I will admit that, because she is, obviously she has dark skin, but at this point, I have no reason to refute what Joe Brown says about her heritage, that she is primarily Indian and partially Irish. So there is, I'm sorry, but from now on, I am not even going to refer to her as black. She is not black. She's not even close. Unless she can come up with some genealogy chart. This is no different than, for an example, me claiming, which I'm not, but me claiming that I'm Native American, that I have Cherokee tribe in my blood. I'm not, believe me, I'm about as pure European American as you can possibly get. I mean, I have my makeup, and I have traced my makeup, believe me. There is not 1 ounce of anything other than Indian. Or, I'm sorry, not Indian. Not 1 ounce of anything other than European in me. So, yeah. Yeah. She is not black. Until she can prove that she is black, she is not black. And if anybody asks the question, all you have to do is point to this article, this essay, written by her father directly, who has no idea what heritage or ancestry his maternal grandmother, which is where it might have come from, but had no idea what his maternal ancestry might be. Now, he claims clearly that he is Jamaican. He claims that he is Jamaican. But that doesn't mean black. And his heritage, apparently, on his own words, demonstrates that he is not. You would think that he would call this out Honestly, you would think that he would call that out completely. In fact, story holds it that when Kamala Harris went on to a radio show or podcast and was talking about, she was asked whether or not she had partaken in marijuana. And of course, she immediately said, well, yes, and yes, I did inhale, kind of making a joke about the whole Bill Clinton situation where, I smoked pot, but I did not inhale, that kind of thing. Yeah, she was making a joke about that. But I'm sorry, I cannot, I'm not going to, she is a person of color. That is it. She is not black. She is absolutely not black. And that, believe me, is irritating, completely irritating. To even think that, she's basically trying to be a chameleon, to be whatever people are going to be, whatever people want her to be in order to make it. Yeah. She's not black. All right, folks, let me take a quick break here. I know I'm getting down in time, but let me go ahead and take a quick break. And I'm going to tell you about this wonderful 365, 24/7 digital radio station called TGRN, True Grit Roots Network. The channel is TGRN Blues. That's right. Go to tgrn.net and check out our wonderful plethora of on-air personalities and shows that are all about the blues. TGRN Blues runs 365, 24/7 blues. Blues that you're not going to be able to find other places because our unique on-air personalities bring an angle to the blues that nobody else has. That's what makes TGRN Blues great. Go to tgrn.net, download our app, or you can listen right there in your browser. Or if you have the Live 365, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, AUDACY apps on your phone already, you can find us in those apps' digital or catalog of digital radio stations. Go to tgrn.net, check out all of our shows and our on-air personalities, their bios, the show bios, do it all, check it all out. Listen to some of the stuff that we do. We have a fantastic number of shows, one of which being the Blue Plate Special, which airs 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, during the noon hour, Central Time, meaning Central U.S. time, and you can go and check that out. Go to tgrn.net. True Grit Roots Network, TGRN Blues out of Austin, Texas. Thank you for that. We appreciate it when you check out the channels. All right. So, breaking news today. So, you remember the whole thing, the whole dust up with the attempted assassination on Donald Trump and the former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle stepping down? Well, guess what? There's some new information out. Take a look. Right here. This is from Real Clear Politics. Former Secret Service chief wanted to destroy the cocaine evidence. Now, here's the thing. The cocaine evidence that they're talking about is the cocaine that was found in the White House last year. Apparently, she and others in top agency leadership positions wanted to destroy the cocaine discovered in the White House last year. But the Secret Service Forensic Services Division and the Uniform Division stood firm and rejected the push to dispose of the evidence, according to 3 sources in the Secret Service community. Multiple heated confrontations and disagreements over how to best handle the cocaine ensued after a Secret Service Uniform Division officer found the bag on July 2nd, 2023. During a quiet Sunday where President Biden and his family were at Camp David in Maryland, the sources said. Now, here's the key, okay? If this was the normal, and this is really key, and Bongino brought this up too. If this had been the regular Secret Service personnel and that were out at Camp David, rather than the Uniformed Services Division that of course we're backfilling in a lot of different places, okay? Yeah, we probably wouldn't have ever found out about it. And if that's the case, how many times has cocaine been actually found at the White House? How many times has the Biden family had deliveries of such a nature? How is it that you have a whole section of Secret Service personnel that, granted, are willing to take the bullet for it? Now, I mean, let's be honest, this isn't anything new. You know, JFK had all of his trysts, and they, snuck Marilyn Monroe reportedly in and out of the White House, and, all of that stuff. I mean, come on. This isn't anything new to have the Secret Service try and cover something up. But the fact that it wasn't covered up, and by the way, now we're getting this indicator too, with regards to what's going on with the Secret Service. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for it. Well, a Secret Service spokesman named of Anthony Guglielmi denied that Cheadle or Rowe or anyone in the Secret Service leadership asked for the cocaine evidence to be destroyed. Guglielmi, however, ignored a detailed set of questions, asking if an agent or officer had been removed from the investigation and whether anyone has been retaliated against for rejecting leadership's orders or requests during the process or afterward. Yeah. Anyway. This is going to be a fun year. This is going to be a fun season, I'm telling you. I am telling you. All right, folks, that wraps it up for me for tonight. So do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once there, make sure you follow the American Perspective channel. It's a big green button. You can't miss it. Also, too, if you're already on Rumble and you're signed in, that's the key. You got to be signed in order to chat, in order to comment, in order to hit the thumbs up button, which is what I'm about ready to ask you. Hit that thumbs up button so that I can get onto the leaderboard someday, and possibly even the editor's picks. I do appreciate that. I appreciate all the support. You guys are just fantastic. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.